How do you behave when no one is watching? When you are alone, when the cameras are turned off, and it feels or it seems and it seems like nobody is close by to tell you what to do or what not to do. How do you behave? Do you still do those things that you say you're going to do? Do you still do those things that you know you should do, or do you only do it when people are there to see you do it? Now, one very important quality that makes an amazing leader or even a decent human basically is our ability to live with integrity. Everybody will tell you how they want other people to live with integrity, or how integrity is a core value. Sometimes when I go to some organizations and they say integrity is a core value for them, I ask how they live it out, what integrity means in their organization, and I barely get a good response, because it is a good to have. When it comes to having the fancy values written on your walls and maybe put on your websites and all of that, it feels very fancy, right? Oh, this person values integrity. And when it comes to the activities or the results that we celebrate, we don't even put into the integrity. We don't put integrity into consideration. Rather, you hear things like the end justifies the means. Now, if somebody is already using that phrase, I just know that this person has done some very unethical things in the process of them getting the results that they got. So the end does not necessarily justify the means. You need to actually do it. You need to actually go through the process as best as possible so that you can create the results that you desire. Now, I know that some people talk about, or sometimes you need to tweak some things. You need to be able to bend some rules sometimes to create some things, but the question is, at what cost? If the cost of bending those rules are too high, in my opinion, it's too expensive to bend, and it's best to remain with integrity. This is one important value that was drummed into us by my previous boss. He always applauded integrity as much as possible, especially when you are faced with other options and then you choose to do the right thing even when nobody is watching. Now, integrity doesn't start from the bottom to the top. It starts from the top to the bottom. Leaders are supposed to be the ones to embody this very important value. So as the leader of the organization, as the CEO or the top management of the organization, it is expected that you embody this value and not just demand it from the people you're working with. How are you showing up with integrity? How do you need to show up with integrity? How do you need to show up to reflect that you're a person of integrity? This often goes between the cracks because a lot of leaders are fixated on how the people working with them, the people they are leading, or their employees show up with integrity, rather than they being an example of how it should be done. Also, when it comes to again the country setting, it is our politicians, our leaders, that should be an embodiment of this important value, rather than just expecting it from the citizens. Now, as citizens, when we embody integrity, it also becomes easy for us to demand it from the people who are up there. It goes hand in hand. While one party is expected to show up this way, we need to learn to exemplify this very important value. Now, what is integrity? Integrity basically is your ability to be honest, for you to uphold strong quality principles. When it comes to leadership or governance, integrity helps you to build trust, build relationships, and over time it becomes an amazing competitive advantage. Now, imagine that you are doing business with somebody who lacks integrity. Would you want to do business with that person or even refer other people to them? I believe not. or when the government lacks integrity, when they don't do what they say they would do, and they give no explanation about it. One of my coaches that helps me to really understand and develop and embody this value often talks about following your words, being consistent with your actions. So you're doing what you say you're going to do. Let's say you say you're going to show up at 2 o'clock p.m., right? And for whatever reason, life happens and you're unable to show up at 2 o'clock. You reach out to the person you're supposed to show up, you're supposed to meet, or that you have promised to show up for by 2 o'clock, explaining why you can't do that. Otherwise, you ensure you show up by that time. Now you're not showing up by 2:01, you're not showing up by 2:05, you're showing up by 2 o'clock. There is this thing we call Nigerian time or African time when it comes to events here in Nigeria. And this, I feel, is a huge problem because if an event is, say, 9 a.m., you would find people coming by 11, and then that is when the event gets to start. And this shows lack of integrity because you accepted to come by 9 o'clock. It also shows disrespect for the time of the people who came early enough. So imagine that you are somebody who is notorious for not following through with what you say you're going to do, giving no explanation whatsoever. How do you think people are going to trust you? People would barely trust whatever it is you say. And when you lose trust, it becomes very difficult for you to build it. And again, this is one of the reasons why a lot of people have lost trust in the government all over the world. We only have a handful of governments throughout the world doing very well, but for the others, most of people have lost trust because they don't keep to their words, they don't show up with integrity, and this is affecting the quality of connections that they're building with the people, with the citizens. When it comes to businesses, it is very important for you to have high ethical standards, and not even just businesses, not just businesses, even individuals. When you have high ethical standards, it becomes easy for you to build trust. People begin to trust you better because you keep to your words. You do what you say you're going to do. You show up when you say you're going to show up. Your words are consistent with your actions. Secondly, it helps businesses to retain quality talents. Now, when you show up without integrity, let's say you're not paying salaries as at due, as at agreed. So it helps you, for businesses, it helps businesses to retain talent. Now, one of the major problems I experience with some businesses is that it's either they are not, paying salaries as at due, as at, agreed with their staff, especially for small businesses, or they are not giving their staff the agreed benefits for their work. So this makes it difficult for their employees to trust them, and then top talents end up leaving the organization because they don't feel valued, or the management are not dealing with them with a high sense of integrity. So if you're not showing up with integrity as a business owner, you're going to be losing top talent. And aside from even losing talent, you'll be losing clients because we've had situations where we see, I know you've seen one of these what I ordered versus what I got pictures on the internet. This is also a case of not showing up with integrity because somebody paid for a service or a product to be created, and you said you could do it, which is again you giving your word that you could do it and deliver as a due. But then you don't deliver when you're supposed to, or you deliver something that isn't even remotely close to what you said you were going to do. So this is a case of unethical conduct and a breach of and showing up without integrity. So you want a situation where for you to be able to have repeat clients and for you to build your client base, you want to be consistent with your words. Show up when you say you're going to show up, and show up with integrity as much as possible. Another thing that integrity helps you to do in your organization is to foster innovation. Now, imagine that you have a workplace where integrity is not a core value that people live by daily. A lot of people would not feel free communicating their thoughts, or coming up with innovative solutions, because there will be this fear of somebody stealing their ideas or something. So if integrity is not lived daily in your organization, it becomes difficult for your team members to create the solutions that are required to move the organization forward. So as much as possible, you want to foster integrity and ensure that it is reflected in your daily activities and conduct in your organization. Another thing is that integrity helps you to mitigate risk. So when you are abiding to ethical standards and all that is required to help you provide the products and services your business provides. Another point is that integrity helps you to mitigate risk. When you are operating your business through the lens of high ethical standards, it helps you to mitigate legal issues or legal risk or problems that may arise from you not keeping to your words, and this will affect the image of your business, and by extension affect your profits and the growth of your business. So you want a situation where you are constantly adhering to ethical standards to help you show up as a legit business, and at the same time win the trust of your clients, your employees, and the stakeholders in your business. Also, having high ethical standards and integrity helps you to have an amazing stakeholder relationship. Now, every business has its stakeholders, right? So if you are not addressing these relationships with integrity, what happens is that it becomes difficult for you to weigh into the value that these different stakeholders bring to the table. And if you're not optimizing your relationship with your stakeholders have the capacity to make or mar your business. So it is important that you leverage on having an amazing relationship with them to ensure that they are supporting your business as much as possible. So in the long term, when an organization is leading and living daily with integrity, what happens is that you're showing up with high ethical standards, and this becomes a competitive advantage in the long run. To incorporate integrity into your business and your life, I created a 5-step framework, and it has an acronym called ETHIC, like ETHIC. Now, the first E is for you to establish your ethical standards. As an individual, this are your values, those values that you live by. So you want a situation where you have ethical standards that align with your vision and the positioning you want to have in the marketplace. As an individual, you want to have the right values that set you apart, and it's a reflection of who you truly are, so that you're not misunderstood and you're able to show up more powerfully. Creating these ethical standards are very important to helping you incorporate integrity into your business. The second is T, which is train and educate. Now, when you're working with when you have staff, no matter the number of staff you have, it is important that you continuously train them and educate them on the importance of adhering to these ethical standards and the implication of not adhering to them, because at the end of the day, these are the people who would be a reflection of these standards that you have. So you want them to be good ambassadors of these ethical standards. And now these are the people who embody who would embody these values, as well as, of course, you, as well as you, as the leader of the organization or the team, it is recommended that you continuously train them to see the importance of embodying these ethical standards. As an individual, you need to continuously remind yourself of, these values that you have, so that it becomes a top of mind and it becomes easy for you to live through them. You live your life daily as these values personified. So people begin to describe you by these values. And one of these values, of course, is integrity. The next point is H, which is hold accountability. Now, you want whatever it is you celebrate, persists, right? You want to have an accountability mechanism in place to ensure that all the members of your organization are adhering to these ethical standards. Where they are not adhering to it, they are disciplined as required, or those who are adhering to it get rewarded. Whatever it is you reward, you encourage. So you want a situation where you are encouraging those who are adhering to these ethical standards as much as possible. The next is I, which is integrate these standards to every business process. Now, you don't want a situation where the ethical standards you're living by, your values, are just hung up somewhere that you refer to maybe when you're writing a document or something. You want it to be reflected in every process in your organization, every business process in your organization. This way, people are more aware of it. This way, your employees and other people in your organization are more aware of it, and they are forced to, incorporate it in every aspect of business. And personally, again, you are consciously living out these values that you have created for yourself every day in every situation, not only when it is convenient for you. This way, you become known as a person who embodies this value. And the last point is communicate effectively. Now, when you have these ethical standards in place, you want to be able to articulate it well and communicate it effectively to your staff members, to all the people in your organization, so they become more aware of it and are able to live it out. Basically, they're able to exemplify it as much as possible in the organization. You want a situation where you communicate these values effectively, you have it written, you have it pasted in all the places you need them to be pasted, so that it serves as a reminder for all the people who interact in your organization. And when this is all over the place, it becomes easy for people to hold each other accountable when it comes to living out these values, and it becomes second nature in your organization. So I hope this helps you to see the reason why you need to incorporate integrity in your life, in all of your business processes, as well as your activities in your life. Because if our words are not consistent with our actions, and we are not living with integrity, what happens is that we lose trust. We lose trust, or we break trust, and it becomes difficult for us to gain this trust. And when people don't trust you, they don't want to do business with you. And I hope you also begin to see that upholding high ethical standards and integrity in your business is also a competitive advantage that you can leverage on. So do well to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Bye.